we have Unmesh, a technologist, an IT professional with profound experience in software engineering, agile software development, and test automation. He also works on DevOps. He is an author of Selenium Testing Tools Cookbook and Learning Selenium WebDriver with Python, which is published by PactPub. He is also a tech reviewer of Appium recipes and Ruby recipes from Apress. I think it's great to have you with us, Unmesh. We wouldn't have been able to start off the Selenium Summit with somebody better who himself is an author. So could you please try sharing your screen, Unmesh? To connect with Unmesh, I think you can just check out his LinkedIn profile and do connect with him, guys. He is very profound and very talented in his stream of work. Unmesh will be talking about Selenium Powertools. Over to you, Unmesh. We are very glad to have you with us.
Yeah, thanks for the generous introduction and giving me this opportunity to present today. So today I'll be talking about Selenium Powertools. It's about the Selenium, not just as a testing tool, but a tool for general purpose automation. And how do we extend Selenium to do different cool stuff? So before that, I just want to have a quick poll. There is a poll already live, and I'll show you the question that I have. Is Selenium testing tool? Is Selenium a testing tool? If you can vote for this particular poll.
Yeah, guys, go to slido.com and enter Selenium Summit. Okay.
The same drill that we did for the quiz, guys. Once you go there, you will see the poll open there.
Yeah. So I'll give a few seconds. I think we have 9 votes so far.
I have put in my vote. Guys, please put all your votes.
All right, I think I'll just stop here. And yeah, you guessed it right. It's not a testing tool, right? It's an automation tool. It's a browser automation tool. So Selenium, it automates browsers. Whatever that you do inside a browser, you can automate that, and you can use it for different ways, right? There are different use cases that you can use Selenium, which is like creating the macros for automating repetitive tasks in a browser window. So this could be screen scraping. For example, there are a lot of companies who use Selenium to do screen scraping to find the cheap hotels or flights. You can use it for personal productivity, like filling the timesheets, checking the status of different applications. I once wrote a Selenium script to check my passport application status. And there are some people who use Selenium for stock trading. I know a guy who actively uses Selenium to execute his stock trading workflows, and he is there on the Twitter as well. The other use case is robotic process automation. There are a lot of teams that they started using Selenium for RPA with an orchestration engine, which helps them to automate interaction with multiple web applications to run the different workflows. And most importantly, Selenium is used for testing or checking, as an automated test execution tool. And I think the most widely used Selenium WebDriver is for test. So when you start your journey with Selenium, or whether you are new to Selenium or you're already using it, I want to talk about the Selenium Iceberg, right? So Selenium is just a library, and a library that helps you automate browser interaction. It works with different types of browsers that we have today, like Chrome, Edge, Firefox, and Safari, and few more. But in order to use Selenium, you need to know a little more, right? You need to know the internals of the application that you want to automate, the HTML, the CSS, the cascading style sheets, the XPaths, and a little bit of JavaScript that is being used in the application. You need to select a programming language, some design patterns, and clean code practices so that you can write good code to run your automation in more sustainable way. You need to know a IDE and version control. So it's always good to version control your test or your scripts, whether those are your workflows, automated workflows, or your test scripts. They are application code and they should be version control. You need some testing frameworks because Selenium is just an automation driver. It's not a testing tool, and you need a testing framework which allows you to create test cases or put assertions and create parameterization, generate reports, and all that. So you need a testing framework for that. If you're using it for testing, you also need a reporting tool, and there are a bunch of reporting tools available for you. You need a build and CI tool to build your automated workflows, test, and execute them in a continuous integration or in a scheduler. And you also need a lot of utilities to do a lot of things, and that's the topic that we'll touch today. And if you are using Selenium for RPA, you also need an orchestration tool. There are lots of open source orchestration tools that you can club along with Selenium, and you can use that as for RPA. So I'll quickly talk about these 3 Selenium tags, as a browser automation macro. So in this, you just need a programming language, a Selenium client library, and your macros and input data that you want to pass on. If you're using testing for a testing tool, you probably need a testing framework, reporting, and logging, right? And you write test cases, either JUnit test cases, or if you're using Cucumber, you can write Cucumber feature files and scenarios. And there are various other frameworks, allows you to write test cases in different formats and different files. And if it is RPA, then we have the workflows and your event data because your RPA workflows will be triggered on an event, and you need an orchestration tool that can do different things. And the RPAs also demand that you audit and log all the steps that are executed by your automation engine and the orchestration tool. Now, this is a very basic setup that you can have for your Selenium-based automation, either for RPA or for testing. But a lot of people ask questions like, does Selenium support Windows or Java application? Does it support mainframes? Does it support API automation? Does it support PDF, comparing images, generating test data, and lots of other things? So Selenium does not support all of this out of the box. It's the tool just made to automate the browsers. What you can do is you can bring different libraries and tools together along with your Selenium workflows to automate all these things. And that's what we're going to look at it. And that's why I call it Power Tools. So we'll look at some of the Power Tools to automate some of these scenarios that people talk about, how to automate PDF, how to automate OCR, or how to use capture the text from an image, and how to do a validation on that. So we'll see some of those examples here in this session. I am a big fan of open source and a big advocate of open source. Everything that we'll discuss in this session is open source. There is no commercial or protected freeware stuff. I also encourage you to respect open source contributors and support open source projects wholeheartedly, either by contributing to these projects as a features, or fixing issues, or documentation, or donating small money that can keep these people contributing and help them bring hardware, software that they need. So in this session, I'll be just a moment. I'll be talking about 6 power tools, and some of you might know these tools, but I just want to review these tools and how you can use them to, automate some of the flows or some of the activities, that can save you either time, or it can give you an additional coverage in your automation. So we'll look at the WebDriver Manager, which is used for managing your driver dependencies. We'll look at the Shutterbug to capture the better screenshots, annotated screenshots, and the image validations. We'll look at Tesseract as an OCR tool to capturing the text from an image and how to validate the content of images. I would not recommend the serious use, but yeah, this Tesseract API can be used to validate your images, and you can do certain things, creative things with that. We'll also look at the Faker and Friends for test data. We'll look at WireMock, how you can use WireMock for mocking your dependencies in your Selenium test. There is another shiny tool that's there in the market or in the community that does inbuilt mocking support. You can have similar mocking support, stubbing support along with Selenium in your testing framework or in project. And then we look at the PDFBox to validating the PDF content. There are more tools to do things like accessibility testing or testing mainframe applications. Today, I'll cover on these 6 tools for you. So WebDriver Manager is basically a library which will allow you to automate the management of the driver. In Selenium, we have the client library, which we use to create the test, your automated test script or your automated workflow. But you need a driver executable along with your script to connect to a browser and then execute that, interact with that browser. Most of the teams, they manually download this and configure on their machines and they use it. But a lot of teams, they will hard code the path and then they will just give the script to the other colleague, or they will keep it in the version control system. And when somebody else tries to use it, they will struggle with the driver files not available or to the path that has been configured in your script. And the other issue is the versions of these drivers. As the browser versions upgraded, the driver versions also get upgraded. So how do we keep the how do we manage the dependency? So there is a cool tool called WebDriver Manager, which will automatically download the configured browser driver for you in your test, and then you can use that within your projects. And this tool can be used as a library. I mean, you can add that as a dependency in your Java project, or you can use it as a command line tool, or as a server, or a Docker container. And this can also be set up in a protected enterprise environment where you don't have the internet connectivity. You can set up your own WebDriver Manager server, and where all the drivers are available for your automated test or automated workflows. So before how to use it, if you know this, what you do is typically you'll find a browser version, you will download the driver version that is compatible with your browser version, and then you will copy it to some location, and then you will set the system property with that particular location, right? So this is hard coded right now. It is lying there in my downloads folder. Now, let's say if I give this test to somebody else, and if this file is not available at their location, they will have to download the file and make it available and change the script. Whereas with the WebDriver Manager, you just add the dependency in your project, and you just use the WebDriver Manager class in your script, and tell it which driver you want, and then instantiate your Chrome driver in this example. So WebDriver Manager will do all the magic behind the scene. It will look at the browser version that you have on your desktop, and then it will download the driver, and it will make it available to your test. So let me go to the demo part of the session. So the WebDriver Manager is available, hosted in GitHub, and Boni Garcia, who originally written this cool tool, has a repository. There are Python version, there is a Ruby version as well, and you can find the documentation of this particular tool or library in the GitHub. And the way we use it, I have this simple JUnit test case here, which is calling the WebDriver Manager Chrome driver setup method, and this will essentially will see it maintains a cache on your local machine. if it finds the driver already available there, it will use it, or it will download the executable from the internet, and then you can get started. So you can get rid of these system set properties where you set up your driver paths. So you don't need this. You just use WebDriver Manager and get started. And then let's say you want to set up other browsers, like let's say if you want to set a Firefox browser, you can use the setup method, and then you can change it to Firefox. And let me run this test quickly. So at this moment, I don't have the Firefox driver anywhere on my machine, and it's gonna download that and set up for me, and then it will launch the Firefox browser, which is already installed, and then it will navigate to the site and do a quick check on that site. All right, so you can simply, let's say you want to use Safari browser driver, you can configure that. The WebDriver class will, it will provide you different options: Chrome driver, Firefox, IE, Edge, or Chromium driver as well. Opera driver. These are the options that you have, and you can use this, without worrying about downloading the drivers binaries and maintaining those binaries and the versions of your browser on your desktops or on your CI/CD servers. Okay. The next tool that we'll look at is, the screenshots. So again, a lot of people ask the question that, can we take the screenshot of elements? Can we take the screenshot of entire page? Can we annotate screenshots, which means can we add some text on it? Can we hide certain part of the screenshots? So for that, we can use this cool library called Selenium Shutterbug. And this library provides different features for you to, create, take the screenshot of an entire page element or scrollable element frame. You can also blur stuff that you don't want to be seen to anybody else. You can highlight an element. You can add some annotation, like add some text on the screenshot, or you can also use this to compare the images. The image of the actual element displayed on the web page and the image that you have as your baseline. So let's look at some of the use cases. So I have this website running here, and I'll show you how to use this. So again, you just need to add this dependency to your project. I'm using Maven, and I have this dependency already added to my project. Okay, sorry. So what we'll do is we'll take a screenshot of the entire page. So there is a shoot page method that Shutterbug provides, and then you can configure, how do you want to capture it. So here I'm capturing the full page screenshot, and then I can save it. And Shutterbug will save it in the screenshot folder that it will automatically create. We can also capture the particular elements, and here I'll show you how to capture the screenshot of a particular element, which is I want to capture the screenshot of the logo of the site and the search box. But I also want to blur certain things. I want to blur the search box, and I also want to add some text for me to understand what exactly happening and what the screenshot is. And then I also want to create a thumbnail. So Shutterbug will provide you different methods to do these extra things that you want to do with your screenshots. And the other example that I'm going to do is compare images. So I have a baseline image of one of the elements on the screen, and then I'll just compare that with the baseline version that I have. Right. So let me run this. I hope. And then we look at the screenshots which are captured by this tool. I think things are running a little slow because of probably the Microsoft team has slowed down my laptop.
Meanwhile, can we please, request everybody to stay on mute?
Just give me a moment. Yeah. All right. So it is the usual Chrome driver that will be launched, and the Selenium will load the website, and then Shutterbug will take the control and take some of the cool screenshots that we have configured. All right, so now it has captured the screenshots, and let's look at the screenshot folder that it generated. So first thing, it actually captured the home page. Let me see. Let me load this. Okay, so it captured the home page here, and then it annotated the screenshot with some of the things that we have provided, right? It has also kind of highlighted it, and then we ask it to blur the search box, so it has blurred the content of that particular search box, and it also has taken a full page screenshot. Just give me a moment. I think it slowed down my machine really bad. Anyway, so it did capture the screenshot. The other thing that it did is it also did a comparison between the baseline image that I have, which is the banner that I expect at the first position, and probably I kind of failed this test case to show the difference. So the screenshot shooter actually created a diff image as well. So this is what I was expecting, and then at the first position, something else is displayed here. Instead of this banner, which I expected to be the first banner, this banner is displayed. So what it did is it created a diff of the image that is displayed, and it tells me that yeah, the image is not the same, and then it also failed the test case here, which I have added an assertion in this particular case. So you can use the Shutterbug for creating the assertions or comparing the images, which is not built in Selenium. So you can use this equals with diff method, and you can provide your baseline image and the diff image that you want to capture, and the depth of the comparison. So you can play with this. If there is a minor difference, you can ignore that, and you can configure that here. Okay. So now let's move on to the next library, that the next problem or the library that we want to see. So a lot of people ask me, how do you check images, and how do you check the content of images? So for example, let's say I want to check this is an image, and you cannot Selenium cannot read the content of that image, or if you want to validate whether this image is showing the correct text, how do you do that? So for that, we'll use Tesseract, and Tesseract is a OCR library that was written in 1985s, and most recently Google took over the development of Tesseract, and they're adding more and more features. So it supports 100 different languages and different locales as well. So you can configure the Tesseract to capture the screenshot of the element and then extract the text from it. For that, you need to use the Tesseract's Java library. So there is a Tesseract for J, which is a Java version of the library. And the way you use it is you have to configure the Tesseract to use the language data that you intend to use. For example, I want to use English because these labels are in English. I want to use English recognition so that I can get the accuracy of the Tesseract will be high, and it can extract the English words that are displayed in the image. So we basically set up the path where it can find the training data, and then the language that we want to use. Later in the script, I am capturing the particular element using the shutterbug shoot element method. This will get me the particular element that I want to capture. In this case, this home and decor for all your places. This is the element that I want to check, and I want to check the text of this particular image. For this, I am using tesseract.doOCR method, where I pass the image that is captured by the shutterbug, and then the doOCR method will extract the text that is displayed on that particular image, and then I can do a quick verification using the string result that is returned, right? Whether this particular text is displayed or not. Let me run this again. I hope it will be a quick one.
Unmesh, while this runs, would we want to take a couple of questions, or do we?
Yeah, sure. We can take a question, and then I can move quickly to the next one.
Yeah, Sirisha has a question. She's asking, Faker is one of the recommended plugins for test data generation. How do we extend this to include additional fields specific to the application under test?
Yeah. So Faker, we'll come to Faker in a moment. Faker has an extensibility. You can create your own test data domains, and you can extend the whatever the 100 test data domain that Faker provides. I don't have the example for this session. I just wanted to cover the basic usage. But for example, I have used it to generate, say, Aadhaar card number or PAN card number. So if you know how the scheme of that particular data domain and how you can validate a valid Aadhaar card number or PAN card number, you can extend the Faker, and you can generate the fake data for your test cases. So this test case is passed, and it actually captured the text and validated the value that is displayed on the image. Now let's quickly come back to Faker. Faker is a lot of teams. We are in 2021, and still teams updating their test cases manually before they execute with the test data, either in the code or in the spreadsheet. Every time they want to execute the run, they will find the data and they will update. right? That's not a great approach. That's not automation. So you can use different test data, libraries that are available to you to generate the test data on the fly, and you can generate the unique data that you need. And this is where Faker comes in. Faker allows you to generate test data on the fly. It has about 100 different domains in which you can generate the data, and it also supports different languages. And there are two ways you can extend it. In Faker, there is something called, there is a domain file in which you can add more data domains that you want to, extend this particular tool, or you can write your own classes and logic to generate the data. So if you look at a particular, like, here I'll show you in YAML. No, sorry, let me come back here. So here, you see that each domain of the data is represented as YAML. So you can create more domains like this in a simple YAML format, or you can write your code as well, which can extend the Faker functionality. So I hope that answered the question. In terms of the usage, I think I'll not run the test now. I'll just show you the usage very quickly. So for example, this is my manual test case, my test case with hard-coded data, which, if I run this test case, then this is a user registration test case. If I run this test case and once the user is created, next time I will run this test case, this will not work because the user is already there in the system and the system will show me the error. So what I can do is I can generate test data on the fly using Faker by calling the different data domains of the Faker. For example, I'm using first name, last name, and email address here. So it will generate the on the fly. It will get me the a random data from its database. Okay. So quickly move on. The another use case that I want to show is the mocking stubbing. So you have in the new modern applications, we have applications that depend on different APIs. It could be microservices, it could be external APIs, and some APIs, external APIs, they are beyond our control. They may not be available or not ready. They don't have the environment that is available for to test. There is a rate limit, or there is a price that we have to pay for simple calls, and that price can be exorbitant, or there will be very limited test data. So how do we overcome this challenge where we still want to test our application, but we don't want to use the real API. We can and get the same results. For that, we can create stubs. It's also called service virtualization, where you basically virtualize the services or dependencies that you have on for your testing, for your application under test, and then you use those stubs and virtualize mocks during your testing, so you get a consistent result to test your application, at least in the earlier phases of your projects. So for that, we can use the WireMock. WireMock is an open source project, which supports virtualization for simple HTTP-based APIs. There are lots of different mocking frameworks and tools available that you can explore. WireMock is something very simple to set up in your Selenium test, and you can get started very quickly. I have the example, which is purely written in Java. And I'm again calling the WireMock API here. So how do we use it? Let me run the demo here. I hope I have some time to run the demo, right?
Yeah, Unmesh, just in interest of time, I think you can still run it, and while we run, we can take a couple of
Yes, yeah. So let's say this is an application that I'm running. Let me reconfigure this application. Let's say I have this application which is dependent on a third-party API, and it is not available to me. And this is a simple, weather app. Sorry, and you can see that the API is not available. And then when I run the test, I'll not get the results that I want, right? So I want to virtualize this particular API, which is a open weather map API, and I want to use. I still want to test my applications. How I can do that? For that, we can use the wiremock setup here. So again, I have added wiremock as a dependency in my JUnit test in my Java framework, and in my JUnit test, I'm setting up the wiremock server, which will run as a HTTP server on a particular port that is configured here. And then I have created something called stub. So what is going to happen is whenever my application is going to call this particular API endpoint, wiremock will intercept that request, and then it will provide the data that it has, so that my test, every time it runs, it will get the data that it requires, and it becomes a little deterministic, because here my objective is to test the UI and not the application logic. When I want to really test the application logic or the functionality which is in the API, I might need a real environment. In this case, I just need a mock environment to test my UI. So I'm just checking whether the temperature label is displaying the temperature value here. So let's run this test case and see how it goes. It will automatically launch the wiremock and then stub the particular request, and then intercept the request whenever we configure the city in the UI. Okay, so while the test is running, I can take some questions.
Yeah, sure. I think somebody has a question. Is this IDE dependent, or can we use shadow bot with any IDE?
This is not ID dependent. It's you can use these things with any IDE or any what do you say, build tool, like whether it's Maven, Gradle, or anything else. There are similar libraries available in languages like Python, Ruby, JavaScript. You will find the alternate versions of this. I have created this in Java just for the simplicity. But you can achieve same things if you are using different programming language as part of your testing or automation workflow.
Yeah. The next question is it language independent or dependent?
Most of it is language independent. Some tools might have limitations on those particular languages, but the 6 tools that I've selected, can be used in any programming languages, or their alternate versions can be used in any programming languages.
Cool. Can wiremock be used with Karate framework? Like it can be used with Selenium?
I think Karate has its inbuilt, mocking or stubbing features, which can be used instead of wiremock.
Okay. Also, can we use Shutterbug with TestNG, listeners?
Yes, you can. You can use Shutterbug with TestNG or Cucumber. As I said, any testing framework, you can use these tools. So these are testing framework independent tools.
Okay.
Okay, so the test is passed, and probably it was too fast, and it did saw the particular temperature, and you can also see the wiremock log where it intercepted the request and then returned the response.
Yeah.
Okay, so the last one.
Yeah. Sorry, I don't mean to cut you off, but with the interest of time,
yeah,
if you can wrap it up in the next 2 minutes, it'll be great.
Yeah, so let me skip the PDFBox. It's very simple. I'll just cover it on the slide. I'll not run the test. So PDFBox is used to test your PDF contents. It's again an open source library from Apache, and there are similar versions available in different programming languages. You can test your PDF contents probably there are certain limitations in terms of checking the placement and how the content has been placed and all. But if you want to check whether a particular value is there or a particular image is available, you can do that. Again, that's why I say use with caution. It may not solve your all your testing requirements. It can definitely help you some of those. The way we use it, it's a simple API, and using the PDF document class, you can load the PDF and then get the number of pages and get the text out of the PDF and then compare the contents. I'm just done with demo. So all this code that is used in this session is available on GitHub, and you can find some resources out there. You can also create your Power Toolbox. Look at GitHub Explorer. Look at different repositories like npm.js, Python package managers. There are lots of different tools available for you to extend your Selenium testing or any automation workflow that you do with Selenium. You can add a lot of those features in your projects.
Yeah, thank you so much, Unmesh. That was a great, very interactive and a very insightful session. We're very grateful to have delivered this to us. Thank you so much. Attendees, please connect with him on LinkedIn and please put in your questions on chats. I think Unmesh will be with us to answer your questions.
Yeah.
Yeah, thank you, Unmesh.